Lewis Hamilton crossed the line at Zandvoort just 0.849 seconds behind George Russell. Less than 1 second separated Ferrari from the podium. Normally, that would look like a narrow defeat, a Mercedes driver surviving Hamilton's final attack. But Fred Vasseur's post-race explanation revealed something far more uncomfortable. Ferrari may actually have had the faster car. Twice during the race, Hamilton's radio told a different story than the result did. Great way of wasting time, guys. Are you using me as a guinea pig here or what? Buried inside Vasseur's explanation afterward was a number that gives both of those messages a new weight. He hasn't said it yet. Neither have we. If Ferrari had the pace, what exactly stopped Hamilton from reaching the podium? And what was the number hidden inside Vasseur's explanation? This was not a car performance failure. Ferrari's race pace was competitive all weekend, and according to Vasseur, the SF26 may have been stronger than Mercedes over a race distance. That matters, because it means Hamilton's 4th place and Leclerc's 5th can't simply be written off as the car's natural limit. If the SF26 genuinely had the legs to beat Mercedes on pure pace, then the result at Zandvoort isn't a story about where Ferrari stands in the pecking order. It's a story about what happened between having that pace and turning it into points. Ferrari had the machinery. It simply did not do enough right. And the first warning appeared before Ferrari's strategy had even properly begun. After Max Verstappen's opening lap incident brought out a restart, Ferrari had a real chance to gain ground back. Instead, Leclerc got a poor getaway. Oscar Piastri, running the harder compound, went past him anyway. Rather than attacking the cars ahead, Leclerc now had to spend laps just recovering the position he'd lost. Ferrari was not being beaten only by Mercedes. It was already beginning to weaken its own race. And the restart was only the first unforced error. Then came the pit stop. A slow stop for Leclerc handed over another position. 2 controllable moments, a restart and a pit lane, and Ferrari lost ground in both, without Mercedes needing to do anything to force either mistake. 1 poor restart, 1 slow stop, 2 positions surrendered without Mercedes needing to create either one. But Ferrari's most expensive delay was still to come. Hamilton, meanwhile, was on a different plan entirely. He'd moved from soft tires onto hards, while Ferrari hoped a longer stint might pay off if a late safety car or VSC fell the right way. It wasn't an irrational strategy. Long stints on this tire can work, especially with a well-timed interruption. But it needed clean air to function, and instead Hamilton found himself catching his own teammate fast. From Hamilton's cockpit, this was no longer an experiment with tire life. It was a podium opportunity slipping away in real time, behind his own teammate. Ferrari now had 3 options, and every lap was making the decision more expensive. Tell Leclerc to move aside for Hamilton. Pit Leclerc immediately and clear the track naturally. Or hold both cars where they were and manage the wider traffic around them. Each option carried its own risk. A team order risks the kind of tension no team wants mid-championship. An early pit stop for Leclerc risks dropping him straight into traffic he'd then have to fight through alone. Holding position risks exactly what ended up happening. Both drivers losing time while the team waits for clarity that never quite arrives. Ferrari hesitated. The team was watching tire compounds, pit windows, and the cars around both drivers. Helping one could easily drop the other into traffic elsewhere, and the reasoning on the pit wall was genuinely complicated. But from the cockpit, all Hamilton could see was time disappearing. Leclerc was eventually pitted, but by Hamilton's own account, it had taken too long to get there. Great way of wasting time, guys. Great job. Vasseur could defend the logic behind each individual call. But taken together, those calls were beginning to add up to a missed podium. The guinea pig line deserves more attention than it usually gets. Hamilton was out on aging tires while Norris and Antonelli, both on fresher rubber, were closing in behind. He didn't have a clear picture of exactly how long his stint was meant to last. So he asked the question directly. Are you using me as a guinea pig here, or what? That wasn't just a complaint about tire wear. Hamilton was really asking something bigger. Did Ferrari have a decisive plan, or was his race being used to figure one out in real time? To be fair to Ferrari, the longer stint carried genuine upside. A late interruption at the right moment could have worked in Hamilton's favor, and strategists don't get to see the future any better than the rest of us. Sometimes the harder tire and the longer stint is simply the correct call that a poorly timed VSC would have rewarded. The real issue wasn't the tire choice itself, It was the communication and how slowly the team reacted as circumstances kept changing around it. A driver can accept a strategy that doesn't work out. What's harder to accept is not knowing, lap after lap, whether the team behind him actually has a plan. Somehow, despite all of that lost time, Hamilton still reached Russell. The gap was falling. Russell was within reach. The podium was alive again. Hamilton closed in hard, cutting the deficit down lap after lap. Ferrari's earlier mistakes hadn't killed the opportunity outright. They'd just made it harder to finish. For a few laps, it looked like Hamilton might pull it off anyway. Then the race changed one final time. An incident involving the two Williams drivers brought out a virtual safety car on lap 70, and Hamilton's pursuit was neutralized instantly. Whatever rhythm he'd built over the previous laps was gone in a moment. The gap froze, the field bunched up, and the clock on his remaining opportunity effectively stopped ticking down to zero. When the VSC ended, only one racing lap remained. Not nearly enough to build and complete a real attack. Russell held track position. Hamilton crossed the line 0.849 seconds behind him. Did the VSC cost Hamilton the podium, or had Ferrari already cost him the time needed to survive it? Vasseur's own explanation supplied the most uncomfortable answer. But probably we lost 1 second with Charles. 1 second. Hamilton finished 0.849 seconds behind Russell. Sit with that for a moment. An early release wouldn't have guaranteed Hamilton the podium outright. He'd still have needed to catch Russell and then pass him, and overtaking at Zandvoort is never simple. But across the restart, the pit stop, and the hesitation over which car to prioritize, Ferrari gave up more time than the final gap to third place. That's the part that turns this from a story about bad luck into a story about accountability. Bad luck is losing a podium by 0.849 seconds to a virtual safety car nobody could have predicted. What happened at Zandvoort is something closer to Ferrari spending its own margin before the VSC ever had the chance to take it. The VSC took away Hamilton's last chance to attack. Ferrari's own hesitation ensured he arrived at that moment with no margin left to work with. The VSC may have removed Hamilton's final chance to attack. Ferrari's earlier hesitation ensured that he reached Russell with no margin left. It's worth being clear about what this isn't. This isn't Ferrari sacrificing Hamilton to protect Leclerc. Leclerc had his own bad restart, his own slow pit stop, and his own difficult stint to deal with. Ferrari's mistakes cost him too, not just his teammate. The real principle at stake is simpler. Whichever driver is faster on track in the moment, the strategy has to be able to react to that, quickly and clearly. Both drivers need to trust that the pit wall will do that when it matters. This was not Ferrari sacrificing Hamilton to protect Leclerc. It was Ferrari failing to maximize either driver. That distinction matters, because the easy version of this story turns it into a rivalry. Hamilton versus Leclerc, one driver's race protected at the other's expense. The harder, more accurate version is less dramatic and more damaging. Neither driver was actually favored. Both simply lost time to the same set of avoidable mistakes. Zoom out, and the bigger issue becomes clear. A team with a car capable of beating Mercedes on pace does not usually finish fourth and fifth. When that happens anyway, the problem sits above the car itself. Restart execution, pit stop performance, communication, reaction speed, and a pattern of uncertainty in exactly the moments that call for a fast, clear decision. None of those things show up in the timing screens the way lap time does, which is exactly why they're easy to overlook race after race, until a weekend like this one puts a number on what they actually cost. Ferrari can't treat these as isolated incidents. They need to be looked at as a chain. A team can defend the logic behind each individual call and still admit that, together, those calls produce the wrong result. Ferrari's greatest threat may no longer be Mercedes' speed. It may be its own hesitation when the decisive moment arrives. That question follows the team straight into its next race. Monza is Ferrari's home Grand Prix, and the pressure in front of the Tifosi will only be sharper than it was in the Netherlands. A slow stop or a delayed call there costs more than it does almost anywhere else on the calendar. Zandvoort was the warning. Monza is where Ferrari has to show it can turn its pace into a result, not just explain afterward why it didn't. Zandvoort showed that Ferrari is fast enough to fight. Monza will show whether it is organized enough to finish the job. Ferrari almost controlled Leclerc's race. It almost maximized Hamilton's alternative strategy. It almost reacted quickly enough. and Hamilton almost reached the podium. At Monza, almost will not be enough. Hamilton missed third place by 0.849 seconds. Vasseur admitted Ferrari probably lost 1 second. Those two numbers will follow the team to Monza. Ferrari gave Hamilton a car capable of reaching the podium. Its own uncertainty helped the opportunity disappear. So who really cost Hamilton third place? The Ferrari pit wall or the late virtual safety car? One word in the comments: Ferrari or VSC. If you want the Monza review broken down the same way, number by number, decision by decision, subscribe, because that's exactly what we'll be doing the moment the checkered flag falls.